and welcome back to our latest episode of Film in Minnesota. Today we have Taylor Scott Olson with us. Taylor, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
How you doing, Taylor?
I'm doing all right. Hope yourself.
Doing well.
We are going to get started with a couple of fun questions
Okay.
before we jump into the business of this podcast here. So Taylor, tell me, if you were able to have any superpower, what would you want to have?
I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people say I want to fly or something like that. Those kind of, I think they're boring powers. One that I always thought was cool, from Ang Lee's Hulk movie, The Absorbing Man, where he touches anything and become that. I think that's cool.
Oh, interesting.
The movie itself was pretty odd, but that power, it was Nick Nolte, his character.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Another one from a movie that wasn't great, but I thought the idea was Jumper, like Hayden Christensen and
Yeah.
Samuel Jackson. The movie itself is kind of cheesy. It's entertaining, but like just the idea of like being able to teleport anywhere, I think that'd be pretty cool. I mean, you
That'd
can get
be-
away with from anything. So
Well, not only that, but think of like this money you would save on gas and the
Right.
time from traffic.
time,
and,
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, my road rage would just plummet. That would be amazing.
be like, oh, I got to go to work. Wake
Yeah.
up 5 minutes before you go and
Exactly.
That's
Just
right.
just teleport there,
done.
right outside.
The Google Maps.
You could really overbook yourself and be okay because you could just take away all of that travel time.
Yep,
That would be amazing. I like that. That's a
that
good one.
would be one of my.
Yeah.
That'd probably be up there. Yeah,
That's awesome.
random, but it works.
No, that's a really good answer.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah. Okay, so if you were able to control the soundtrack for your life, what is one song that would absolutely have to be on there?
Where are we going? Like pop rock type of stuff, or like actual soundtrack, movie soundtrack?
It can be
Just-
anything.
it could be
It could-
anything.
It could, yeah. It could
Um,
be
it
Pretty
could be a
Woman.
score.
It could be. It could be the anything. Literally anything.
My moods change all the time. Like my music interests change all the time. Like depending on what I listen to, for the
Right.
most part.
Mm-hmm.
I can't just give you one answer. I guess
That's okay. I mean, it's a soundtrack. If you want to name a few,
If
go
we're gonna
for
go
it.
for like soundtrack, like a movie soundtrack, it'd probably be something weird by like Danny Elfman, in a Tim Burton movie.
Ooh.
I love anything by Danny Elfman. If we're gonna go with one song, I have to think about this one. There was a song I really liked. I like to find songs by artists maybe who are popular but not like their biggest hits.
Mhm.
It's called Hello Hooray, originally by Judy Collins, but Alice Cooper did a cover in the early 70s. And I listened to that song a lot when I was like getting ready to write, because like lyrics are "Let the show begin, I've been ready," and he's like, it's basically the song's about him before he goes on stage.
Mhm.
But I kind of took it in perspective of like before getting onto a project,
Okay. Yeah.
and it kind of works for that. So maybe that one. But then sometimes I haven't listened to that song for months and then forget about it. And,
That happens.
so that'd be one of them, I guess. We'll say that, or some weird Danny Elfman soundtrack, because I'm pretty weird.
That's okay. I like it. All right. And then the question for everyone. Do you have a random, fun, maybe surprising talent that nobody particularly, wow, knows about?
I've been learning Norwegian, so I can speak some of that.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
It's kind of random. Jeg snakker norsk. That means I speak Norwegian.
Oh,
but
nice.
but I really don't. I snakker litt norsk, which you can probably guess what that means. So I've been taking classes for that, and that was more of this is not even at all film related, but it was more of like, my grandfather was Norwegian, and he was born in Iowa, he grew up there, but his first language was Norwegian because it was a small town. There was the Lutheran church, and it's all Norwegian immigrants or first or second generation there.
Wow.
So he learned Norwegian, then went to school and learned English when he was 5 or 6 or whatever.
Oh, that's
So
really cool.
it was kind of it kind of began as just like an interest in learning more about him. He died when I was 7, so I didn't really know him all that well.
Mhm.
And then just kind of became this weird obsession, and I'm like, I'm just going to learn the language. And so I have been.
That's awesome.
It's random, yeah.
That's really cool, especially because that's not a language that you necessarily see a lot of people around here learning.
It's
so I think
not
that's
like incredibly
really cool.
practical like Spanish or something like that, where you can actually go and like speak it with a lot of other people.
Right.
Like most Norwegians know English anyways, but like I just wanted to.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
Forgotten
though.
language.
yeah.
Nice.
I do have a random question for you.
Okay.
What?
You have a Facebook profile picture
Yes.
of a Vikings jersey, and you've colored it over maybe, a dozen times by now?
Probably about that, yeah.
Who is the original
It was-
jersey?
It was I got it in 2011, I think. It was Christian Ponder. I got it for Christmas, I think. It's like the $270 like actual stitched jersey, Christian Ponder, because I thought
Christian
he is
Ponder.
going to be the future quarterback.
Oh,
I don't know if anyone
man.
remembers Christian Ponder. This was
I
probably
do,
Oh, of
yeah.
course.
a dozen quarterbacks ago now. And then I just keep coloring it in with like the worst Photoshop jobs with different whoever is the quarterback now.
Yeah.
I try to make it look as bad as possible. And
It looks fantastic. I'm looking at it right now.
yeah.
This is fantastic.
So right now it's Cousins, and
Yeah.
it used to be
Now I'm like searching
Bridgewater
for the last
and
one. Keenum.
Keenum and
Oh,
whoever
that's
else. I mean,
Sparkles,
there's who else was a quarterback between them?
Favre.
I think Favre. Oh, McNabb. I think
McNabb
maybe.
for a second. And
Yeah,
then
I
it
know.
switched over to...
We've had a lot of quarterbacks since then.
Yeah. So,
That's awesome, though.
yeah, you had a very nice jersey and you didn't want to get rid of it.
I still have the jersey.
You still have
but
it,
I'm not
yeah.
going to wear a Christian Ponder jersey now. Yeah,
Yeah, that's-
I've,
Well, why
It's
not?
understandable.
yeah.
Didn't he marry someone here, or was that someone else?
He married
No,
ESPN announcer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Samantha Steele.
There
Yeah,
it is.
There you go.
Didn't take his name, though.
She did, I think.
Oh, she did.
I'm not sure. I think Samantha Ponder now, but she was. She has a career and he doesn't. I guess now at this point. But,
Unless he's
is he
backup
playing
somewhere.
for? Yeah, he's got to
I
be
don't
like a third stringer
no,
somewhere.
he hasn't played in a couple of years now.
No?
hasn't.
He was on the 49ers as a third string for like one season,
for
like
for
2016.
like a day.
for like
And
2016.
he was
and
on
then that
the. Was it no? Was it them or?
Maybe it was the Broncos.
I'm a
he was
Niners
on.
fan. I should know this. I'm gonna stop talking.
He was third
Continue.
string on the behind. Actually, it was the year. I think it was Gabbert, Kaepernick, and Ponder. They were because
Oh,
they were
you're
all drafted in
right.
the same 2011,
You're right.
and now Gabbert's the only one playing.
Yeah.
He's on the some. I don't know where Gabbert is now. He was bad. But he's the only one still in the NFL.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're going on a tangent already.
I was
That's
just
okay.
curious
I like
who
it.
was the original
It's a good
Yeah,
team.
it was Christian Ponder.
pre-Photoshop
And
version.
most of my like NFL fantasy teams, I could just call myself the Christian Ponders. And
Aw.
that began as a joke, and I still just do it.
Yeah,
So
I like that. That's funny.
awesome. Yeah.
I guess maybe you should just go with like Smith or someone who's been there,
Yeah, right.
forever. I don't know. I feel like that's a cop out though, because everyone looks to the quarterback. So,
That's okay.
all right.
Are you a pretty big Vikings fan though, overall, or?
I am, but I enjoy the games, but I don't. I know people that take it so seriously that if they lose, they really get upset, and it's not like it makes me happy when they lose, but I get over it pretty quickly and
Right.
move on. So it's not like when the games are on, like I'm into it, but when it's over, I'm onto
Move
something
on.
else.
Yeah.
I don't live football. I kind of used to for a little while, but then it's not worth it. It's a game,
Yeah,
so it's fun to watch, and then I go do something else when it's over.
absolutely.
So maybe you go do film, perhaps.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah, when I get the opportunities to, yeah, that's one thing I do enjoy doing, and I believe that's why I'm here. So
Yeah. How did you get started in film?
when I was 11 years old, actually it's probably 10, I started making movies with friends of mine, like with like our I remember I made some with my friend Travis. We made like Batman. Like he had a bunch of Batman action figures, and we'd make stories and move them around, or whatever. I had a friend Andy, and we used to have like the Green and Tan Army Men. We'd make war movies and like with Legos later on, and like Star Wars action figures, different things like that. Kind of like we'd make it so it was like based off of like a Toy Story kind of universe. Like they are toys sometimes when they actually fight and kill each other and stuff, though. So as maybe more violent than Toy Story would be, but that type of thing with action figures. And then eventually, once we maybe I was like 12 or 13, we were like actually filming ourselves, making spy movies or horror movies in the woods with bad Halloween mask monster costumes and stuff that are running around, stuff like that. And that's kind of where it really started. I probably have my dad bought a high 8 camera in the 90s, 97, something like that, and I used that and made, I don't know, probably 100 hours of different movies through that early 2000s, and I still have them. I transferred most of them to digital, but
nice.
that's kind of where the passion began. And then on top of that, in like when I was probably 14 or 15, at the time I thought this was this is what parents do, but like my dad started like buying me, like we got a DVD player in 2002. My dad started buying me like DVDs of classic movies that he liked. I mean, like actual classics, like we watched Citizen Kane or like Double Indemnity, but then he'd also bought like Alien and like Back to the Future and Jaws and like E.T. and it's like, let's watch these movies. And I'm surprised later on that a lot of people haven't seen like E.T. or something like that. Uh-oh.
Yeah. How about that?
I know. Who does, like, who, what?
Oh, no. Back
Crazy.
to the Future?
Yes.
Okay, you've seen Back to the Future.
Well, the first two, not the third one.
You haven't seen the third one?
No, I was specifically told not to.
Really?
Yeah.
You got to watch all three.
But I feel like that's like saying you got to watch all three of the Godfather movies, and I specifically tell people not to watch the
But the second one ends on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So the second and third movie are one movie.
They're
they
all
just
connected.
shot it as two.
Yeah.
They
Really?
shot them back to back. It was going to be one movie, and it was too long of a script, so they separated it. Yeah. So I think
Okay.
the third one's
You're
better
safe
than the
to
second
watch
one,
it.
I think.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Godfather 3 is
A disappointment
yeah.
to my existence is what it is, because that's the first one is my favorite movie of all time, and it breaks my heart that the third one is what it is.
The third one, yeah, the third one is not great. I don't think it's the worst number 3 movie of all time. I don't know, because I watched everything though, because my dad bought me Jaws, and then I went and bought on DVD like Jaws 2, 3, and The Revenge, and they're not good, but like I just had to see them. Like I remember he bought me the first Rocky movie, and most of the Rocky movies are pretty good actually, but like Rocky 5, you get to that, you're like this is really bad. But actually, that's probably the only really bad one I'd say. But yeah, I found out later, like when I went to film school, like a lot of people have just not seen movies. Like that are going to film school, and that kind of threw me off. Like, and then I appreciate it more. Like, I guess I'm glad my dad bought me all these DVDs. Like in my mind, like everybody's parents did this when I was growing up,
Right.
but they just don't. So a lot of people just haven't seen a lot of these movies. People haven't seen Citizen Kane. You haven't seen Citizen Kane
I have not
either?
seen
Oh,
Citizen
man.
Kane. I know, but I really want to. I just have. There's a list of like movies that I really want to see that I should see, and that it's very long, and I am very
Yeah.
busy, so I have not gotten to it in a
Right.
very long time. But that is on it.
Citizen Kane is a good movie.
Yes.
I mean, it's on like what AFI is number 1 movie.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite movie of all time, but I think in terms of like filmmaking, it pushed ahead a lot of different aspects of just filmmaking in general, and
Yeah.
a lot of films that followed that kind of took the just story ideas and how they would piece together a story.
I feel like that's how a lot of people view it. Like it's listed as one of the top, or like the top movie, the best movie of all time on all of these really reputable sources. But I've never met a person who said it's their favorite movie of all time. So I think that it's really based on what it's done for film in general.
I think a lot of times with a film like that is, and it's no insult at all to that, but I feel like they might have done it first, but I think other films since then maybe have done things better.
Right.
That Citizen Kane originated, so it started there, but like,
Right.
and that sounds like I'm insulting it in a way, but
no. I think that's how everything goes. Like
Yeah.
somebody has to start something and do something for the first time in order for other people to take it and roll with it and
Just-
make it better.
it's really kind of at a point where Citizen Kane is good to watch to learn like film history, but I won't watch Citizen Kane and then try to shoot a movie that's similar to that because we've evolved well past a lot of the techniques they use in that movie.
Right.
Unless you're trying to make a movie that looks like it takes place in the 30s or 40s or whatever.
Right. For sure.
Like I Love Lucy, the whole 3-camera technique that was
Yeah.
invented during that show is the basis for every sitcom and every show since then. So
Yeah.
before they only had one film camera, so it was just kind of like that's TV for you, and then and
Yep.
game shows and everything.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite film like growing up that you and your dad maybe watched or that he introduced you to?
My favorite film growing up, like it changed the more I saw. Like when I was a really young kid, it was The Jungle Book, and then I saw Toy Story at my 7th birthday. It came out on my 7th birthday, and I saw that, and that was my favorite film for a long time. The first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, because I was 13, and real awkward high school, or not high school, I was 13, but early teenager.
Yeah.
But I could totally relate. Like, man, I'm just this,
Right.
shy and whatever else. So I really liked that one. That was my favorite for a while. Spider-Man 2 is good too. As far as watching a movie with my dad, it would probably be maybe Terminator. We'd watch that.
Wow.
Like a lot of 80s movies. He'd skip past the sex scene when I was like 13. in the first Terminator.
Yeah.
Predator was, I mean, like a lot of 80s movies. Back to the Future probably was definitely up there on the list.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'd watch a lot of those movies together. And he introduced me to a lot of those kind of movies, like 70s and 80s. You know, he showed me a lot of those things, so that was fun.
That's awesome. I
Nice.
think it's a really cool bond to have, like with one of your parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of that list, who inspires you in filmmaking then?
Filmmakers?
Yeah, or
From
films,
Just
whatever.
to, like today.
Whatever's inspired you to do what you do.
Okay. Like some of my more influential filmmakers would probably be, well, Tim Burton was a big one. I guess Sam Raimi, because of Spider-Man, but then later Evil Dead as well. I mean, I guess he did Evil Dead early, but I didn't see that
Right.
until later. But Tim Burton's weird style, like you can, I mean, and then like Danny Elfman's soundtrack. Like if you're watching any movie, you don't know who the composer is, and like music starts, you're like, you can tell it's Danny Elfman because it's that weird court choir type of something that it does. So yeah, Tim Burton and Danny Elfman are kind of one thing.
Yeah.
They always are together, pretty much. Sam Raimi was another one. I mean, the obvious like Spielberg ones, George Lucas, maybe. Actually, my favorite movie of all time for a long time was American Graffiti.
Really?
Which was
Wow, that's an oldie.
Yeah.
George Lucas's second feature before he did Star Wars, and I used to watch it. It takes place on the last day of summer before they go to college. Or whatever. Have you seen that? Okay.
No.
I have.
Okay. Well, it takes place on the last day of summer.
It's plastered all over the walls on Mel's Diner on Hollywood and
'cause-
Vine.
I know.
Yeah.
There's a Mel's Diner in California that my dad and I used to walk to and go to all the time, and it was old style. Had like the big jukebox and the little jukeboxes there.
In
that
San
we could-
Francisco?
In San Francisco.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Right
I
on,
would.
That's probably the one they filmed at then.
Yeah, and I would we would sit there and I would play music and look at all the pictures, and so like I knew of the film. I've never seen it.
I think it's definitely worth a watch. I think it was
Yeah.
Harrison Ford's first film,
Oh, really?
or maybe his second film.
I didn't know that.
I don't know. He was very young, 1972.
Yeah.
He's a small part in it. He's kind of
Nice.
the bad guy. I mean,
okay.
he's the antagonist. You know,
See the guy on the bike or something? What was
he
it?
has the. He had a different car. I forget. He had a different
Yeah.
car or something like that. He's always trying to
Something.
race. I can't remember who it was. I spent a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as Richard Dreyfuss, Ron Howard, it was kind of the.
Oh, wow.
It was kind of the almost influence for Happy Days.
That makes sense.
Because it takes place in the late 50s, and they're kind of that style. But
Mm-hmm.
I used to watch it on the last day of summer before I went back to school, starting in 7th grade all the way through like college.
Oh, wow.
I'd watch it once a year because that's
That's
when
awesome.
it takes place on the last day of summer, and it's
Right.
kind of like that real cathartic coming of age type of movie that I mean, inspired. I feel like it inspired a lot after that
Mm-hmm.
that people don't really quite think about because Star Wars overshadows it as for
Right.
George Lucas' work. But I think it's my favorite George Lucas movie. I like it better
Oh,
than any of
really?
the Star Wars movies. Yeah,
Okay.
even though he only directed
Well,
one Star Wars movie of the original trilogy and the prequels, and
Oh, you only directed one?
he only directed the original Star Wars. He
Hmm.
didn't direct Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
Yep.
still
that
the
was
creator.
Irving Kershner and Richard Marquand.
Okay.
I know a couple.
What
of
about the
things
first three in the prequel?
He directed the
He directed
prequels.
those.
Yeah.
And it shows.
Those are not my favorites.
Yeah.
So I don't hate them.
right.
Like
Yeah.
people do, but
Yeah.
but they're
Not as
Really?
good.
they're not
Yeah.
great.
I was excited for 3, and then it's like, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
But I just say I'm really excited for this next one.
With episode 9,
Yes.
they just announced today
So
for the
excited.
Mandalorian show who that Mandalorian is, and I forget the actor now. He's in Game of Thrones. Pedro something.
Yeah. Is it the guy who fought the mountain or something? Is that it?
I'm way behind.
Really?
In Game of Thrones,
Is it
so,
him?
So no spoilers.
Oh,
That would
okay.
be
Never
amazing.
mind. I don't know if it's him though.
He was in
I
Game of
don't-
Thrones. He was also in
Narcos.
Narcos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
then
him.
yeah, it's him.
Yep.
Oh man, it's
Yep.
gonna be awesome. You got to catch up on Game of Thrones.
I know. That's,
Oh my
I'm so
gosh,
far
it's
behind.
coming. I just read that it's coming back in April.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
I've watched
I mean,
like the first
it could
3
be
seasons.
incorrect,
What is
but
it? Season 8 or 9?
8.
8.
And
Okay.
this is or 7, and it's the last one.
the last one.
It's the last one.
Yeah,
Whatever it
and
is.
it's gonna be so
It's been too long, so I'm just like,
yeah.
You just got to.
and we're probably only gonna get 8, out of it or something.
I think they're only doing
or less.
7, yeah,
Yeah,
something like that.
not
But they're
much.
gonna supposedly.
Anyways, back to Taylor.
We can talk Game of Thrones. It's fine.
Well, how about your films? Tell us about your most recent film work and how it became.
How
a
many
film.
films have you made here in Minnesota?
I don't know. I mean, only one feature,
Mm-hmm.
but I've made a bunch of short films. It's kind of like at what point do I start taking the short films I'm making seriously? I mean, like, because the stuff when I made it as a kid, if I'm gonna count that, then I've made hundreds of films here. But then I don't really care to share any of that kind of stuff. 'Cause it's a lot of it's learning how to tell a story. I'm not quite sure. I made a handful of shorts, a decent amount here. Not as much lately though. I am editing a project now that I wasn't a part of. I'm just the editor, and then I actually am shooting another thing at the end of November, early December actually, but that's going to be in Atlanta. So,
oh wow!
So I know I'm on a Film in Minnesota podcast talking about that.
That's exciting though.
But I do have another short that I'll probably be shooting in late January, working on, and there's some things past that we're discussing, I guess, but we'll see where that goes.
Right.
But my last actual big project was my feature film, which actually has been finished for a couple of years now, but it came out last January, 2017, on DVD, and then a little bit later on VOD and everything.
Yeah. Tell us about your experience filming in Minnesota's, I guess, what is the most, I don't know, what do you like about filming in Minnesota, I suppose, first?
I was on, I mean, for my feature film, it was obviously a much lower budget thing, so it's easier to film something. It's easier to film something here than in LA, because I was on a couple of shoots in LA when I lived there for a short time, and I was just kind of I was helping as a grip or something like that on a couple of things, but they're like bigger budget short films. I mean, like they're like $20,000 short films, something like that, and they end up being like a 5-10 minute thing, and it's like impossible to try to get locations in LA, like for cheap.
Yeah.
You go to any place here, not any place, but a lot of places here will just let you shoot wherever.
Right.
Or they'll, you can work with people here. They kind of have the attitude that, like, they know the film industry, and they're like, yeah, we're going to charge you $10,000 to shoot you for the day. And that's always been kind of an issue. So you can shoot something here much lower budget than you would in LA, and probably a lot better in a lot of ways, depending on what the story is. So that was a great thing. Another thing I like about Minnesota is that there's a huge theater community here, so you do have a good amount of actors.
Yeah.
And they're good actors. Sometimes with theater you have to work with them to tone it down for film, but for the most part I haven't had, it's not like it's a huge issue. You just have to, have a work with them a little bit, but they're professional and they know what they're doing a lot of times. I think Minnesota has, I don't know, it's in the top like 3 for like theater. Minneapolis is like
Well,
top
per
3 for,
capita,
like,
it is the
theater.
largest based
Is
on
it?
per capita because our population is so smaller.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I know it's definitely up there, and especially for actors too. There's some good ones.
As far as number of theaters,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
Okay. Did that answer that question?
Yeah, I guess obviously the resources of places, actors, and things are really good. Are there any challenges you find about filming in Minnesota?
I mean, there's a challenge, I guess, about filming anywhere. Minnesota, like the weather, depending on what you want to shoot. Like, because when we shot Solitude, there was parts that we shot in the summer, and it's supposed to be, summer, but like it would be like 90 degrees and super humid some days. And it's just terrible. And then there's parts that we shoot when it has to be snow outside, and it has to be the winter at night, and it'd be like negative 15 degrees or something like that. And it's just, we had like near the end of filming, we had one scene. If you've seen the movie, which you should, it's on Amazon Prime. American Beast. And I'm not going to spoil the ending, but we had one effect that we were shooting. It was near the end of the production where I forget what we had exactly set up, but it was supposed to be like someone gets shot, and we had like a fire extinguisher thing or some kind of thing that look at shooting out their head, shooting out the back of their head kind of thing, of this like dummy. And we brought it outside and it froze, and then we have to go inside and like wait for it to warm up, and then like we get everything else set up and just run it outside, and then like did it, and then and it worked. But then it would like freeze right away again.
Wow.
Like in like the tube, like the blood or whatever. So like
compressed air type thing. Yeah.
So that was kind of a pain, and it's like we had a couple days where we'd shoot and it was snow and it was like 35 and it was like perfect because it's like not so cold. But then like the last day, we shot this one scene. It took 3 days. The first 2 days were like 30, 40 degrees, and the last day was like 10, and that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
The very last thing we shot all night on the very last night until like 7 in the morning, and it was like -20 out. We're outside, and Ben Anke was our DP. I don't know if you've met him, but I mean, it was just me and him, and my co-director Livingston, because he was actually, it was a small part that Livingston was actually playing in the film, and like we're just like, do you get it? Like, yep. All right, let's go inside. Like that was it. Like it was just a short conversation. And it's like we just finished the movie. It's so anticlimactic, but like that's just kind of how we've ended it. 7 in the morning, we'd go inside, freezing, and all right, we're done.
And you shot it like a series of short films almost, like.
We did,
right?
yeah. Because it is an anthology, so it's 6 different segments, and we shot kind of each one on its own. So we shot one in early 2013 in the winter. We shot 3 in the summer of 2013. We shot one that fall, and then we shot the last one early 2014. Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. Okay, I had to think about that. So yeah, it was a weird challenge, and it was more of, I mean, it is a feature film, but it's more of like shooting 6 short films back to back to back kind of thing. For the actors, they probably approached it like a short film because a lot of times there wasn't as much crossover between segments, so they were maybe on set for just a couple of days, and they're in 10, 15 minutes of the movie. But there are a couple actors that were in a lot more of it, so it's a different approach, and I probably won't make a film quite like that again, but it was a good experience.
Yeah, very inventive, I think. It's kind of like, have you seen VHS?
Yes.
Like that.
I've seen, I think there's 3 of them now.
Yeah, there's a lot now.
Yeah.
I saw the first one. I didn't see the others yet, but
the other ones are entertaining. I don't remember a whole lot about them, but I mean, they have some creative ideas. I like the idea. There's another anthology called the ABCs of Death, horror anthology, and they just go through each letter of the alphabet. There's at least 2 of them. 2 movies. They go through each letter of the alphabet, and it says like they give different filmmakers a letter. So if you have letter A, you have to think of a way someone will die starting with the letter A. So it could be asphyxiation or something like that. But then as you watch these short films, you're trying to like guess what it is and who's going to die. And so they're kind of almost horror comedies sometimes, and they're also weirdly stylistically different. And they're short, like because you got to go through 26 letters.
Right.
So there's sometimes they're like 2-3 minutes long. But that's a pretty entertaining one. I think it was on Netflix for a while. That's
an interesting concept.
And it's one that, if you just have a couple minutes, just watch a couple of them and then you can come back later. It's not like you have to, because it's a 2-hour movie, but it's not really a 2-hour movie.
Right.
It's 26 short films.
Have you made any other films outside of Minnesota then, besides the one coming up in Georgia?
Not so much lately, I guess. No, I guess not. I was, just the one that we have upcoming in early December. That's the next one.
Or it was in December.
It what?
By the time this is
it was. Oh yeah, it was early December. Hopefully, and the shoot went great.
Yeah, it's excellent. Good to hear. Tell us about that now.
Yeah, right.
So when it comes to like filming American Beast, how did you get it after you're done making it? What then?
Well, we finished it our editor and everyone else finished it in the summer, I think, of 2014. We submitted it to the Twin Cities Film Fest, and we premiered it there, which was great, and I'll give them a shout out for everything. A lot of people probably listening have been to the festival. It was a great experience, especially as a filmmaker. They treat you like a rock star, and they have the red carpet and everything, and everything going on there, which is actually kind of rare if you go to some other festivals, because we actually went to some other festivals after that that turned out to be just nothing. And it's like, okay, like we went from like what I think is one of the better festivals to another one that I'm not going to name. That we went there, and in the door, like they had a sign up that looked like duct tape to the window, and it's like, oh, like where are we? Nobody came. One of those type of things.
Well thought out.
Yeah. No. So, but it makes you kind of appreciate what the Twin Cities Film Fest is.
Right.
so we were there. We had a couple other festivals, had a couple other screenings. It took a long time to settle on distribution, just because it's a long process. But when it finally came out, so we premiered in October 2014. It came out on DVD January 2017.
Oh.
So that's just how long it takes sometimes. And actually, and that's in the U.S. It came out in other countries.
Oh, right.
And before that, for like the past year, starting in 2016. So it's out in. I know it's out in like Thailand. It's out in like some Scandinavian countries. It's out in the UK. It's out in Brazil and Taiwan, and I don't like a couple other like random countries as well. I can't remember what they are, and they're always different titles in all these countries. So in the U.S. it's called American Beast. In the UK it was Beast of Prey. I think in Scandinavian countries they kept it as original title, which was Solitude. In Brazil it was Bosque Macabro, and then which means like haunted woods or something, haunted forest. There was a bunch of different translations.
Wow.
And then I did find like I think it might have been Thailand or something. I found some sort of DVD. Like I don't know anything about it, but I found some sort of like DVD with Asian lettering on it, and it was our movie. I'm like, I don't know what it says, but I guess it's out there somewhere on DVD.
That's awesome, though.
So
that's great.
It's kind of interesting how that is. You kind of, when you go to the distribution, you kind of lose control a lot of kind of thing, and different. Each country has its own person that buys it, or own distribution company that buys it. So you never know who's even distributing it. A lot of times, it's a weird process.
So, like, how do you feel about that process? I have to drill you on this, because like not too many films around here that are independently made get distribution, other than like maybe a self-aggregator type of thing. But you actually founded like, well, maybe a sales agent or something.
Yeah, we found a sales agent.
Yeah,
and they did a lot of the distribution. They did all the distribution for us. I learned a lot through the process. I guess I'll say that. And there are definitely things I would do differently, but I think there's also, even since a couple of years ago, there's things that are totally different in the industry. Kind of because we came out on DVD, and I don't know if even like we were one of the, I don't remember exactly, but we were like one of the last ones to go with this, because we were in a Walmart for a while. They had to deal with Walmart, and I guess that ended or changed or something like that, because DVD is not as big as it used to be. I mean, you're already 2 or 3 generations past DVD. So even if it came out today, it would probably have been a different thing. If it comes out a year from now, it'll be another totally different thing.
Right.
I would probably, of course, do things differently, but that's what you learn.
That's
from
the nature of the beast, right?
The next time, I'm not sure exactly what I would do. I would do more research and probably try to do more of it myself, because I kind of gave up a lot of control with it. But I think for what we had, it was probably the best we were going to get, if that makes sense, for my first feature film.
Sure.
And that's just the way it goes. But it's hard to complain about, because a lot of people are still looking for distribution, and I was able to get it.
Right.
And we were out, on DVD through Sony and Entertainment One, E1, in the U.S., which I think is pretty big.
Yeah.
But in terms of, financial recuperation, it has not worked out. But that's kind of how the film industry works a lot of ways.
So maybe in the future, like they say this too, is like after, like for festivals even, is to have like, besides your press kit, a marketing budget set up so that you can market your movie.
Yeah, we didn't do that.
Okay.
We did that. We did a lot of things wrong with that kind of thing.
Yeah. But I mean, even in the last 5 years since your festival release or premiere date, since we're in 2018-ish here, kind of, and then that was 2013, everything has changed. Yeah. You're right. I mean, it went from DVD to Blu-ray within that year, and then it switched over to digital. Now it's like 4K, and it's like there's this whole melee of stuff, and streaming took over then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was surprised that my movie was never released on even Blu-ray. But it is in HD on like Amazon Prime and whatever other streaming services. Another thing that is super depressing, and I don't mean this to sound like dark, I guess, or whatever, but like I knew going into it that as soon as your movie comes out on DVD or whatever, it's going to be pirated. like crazy. And I'll just go off on a quick rant about that because I found my movie on like YouTube. And it would have like 300,000 views or something, and maybe those people just click on it and then go to something else.
Right.
But then like people that comment, like that was a waste of my time, or they don't like it. It's like you just stole something, and then you know. So
right.
I have very little tolerance or anything for people who steal movies and torrent movies. And
especially the low budget ones.
Especially the low budget ones. Like if you're going out, I mean, I don't think you should steal anything.
Right.
But like, you know, maybe Disney doesn't care if you steal Avengers or something because they're going to make $1 billion anyways. But like, if you steal my movie, like that's going to, not just me, but like an independent filmmaker, we need the film to do well in order to get funding or whatever for the next film. So if it gets stolen, then it's like, you know, studios and whatever, they don't care about that. You know, financial backers don't care about how many people watch it on a torrent website or download from Pirate Bay or something like that.
Right.
So it really kind of kills the industry, and I think people should know that. So that if you're like, if you think you're just sticking it to the man, Disney or whoever, by stealing their movies, you're like, no, you're really hurting the filmmaker more than anyone.
Right.
So stop doing that, please.
Yeah.
That's my preachy moment for the day.
Just like, I think it's called Creative Future is one organization that I encountered that goes after, like, obviously as an advocacy for protecting copyrights, like, you know, things like that. So, but yeah,
it's a twisted
that's a good story.
Morality I think that a lot of people have, that like, oh, it's information should be free. It's like, it's not information. It's you know, it's someone's work, and they require, you know, it needs to make money for them to be able to continue to live, if they want to live as a filmmaker, that type of thing. So, but also people that like steal it and then say they don't like it, that it really annoyed me for a while. But I got over it, so I'm good now.
So, Taylor, what do you look forward to when starting a project or maybe getting into something new?
I like writing. I've written, I mean, since we finished American Beast / Solitude, I'll call it both probably. I've written probably, I don't know, a dozen feature scripts. But a lot of times you'll write something and then, you know, it'll be okay, but then you write your next feature script kind of takes a couple ideas from that. So it's not like I could make all these films because some would be too similar. Mm-hmm. In terms of like what I look forward to into getting into a new project, I don't know, it's kind of random how I come up with ideas. Like sometimes I'll write scripts just like based off one simple like idea or a character. Sometimes I'll, you know, write an outline first and kind of see where it's going. I've written scripts where I'll just think, I know what the first and last scene are going to be, and then I'll see what goes in between. It's just fun to like sit down and actually write stuff. Right now I'm working on a project. It's like super early on, but it's kind of and it has got me excited because it's not just film, but it's kind of a combination of film, music, theater, a lot of social media aspect to it. And I think it's going to be something kind of fun, but I can't really say anything about it yet because it's so early, and I don't want to like spoil it or have someone steal what I want to do with it.
Right.
But it is very like, I don't know, it's got me excited because it's a lot of, you know, I love film, but I want to try my hand at kind of other artistic things and kind of combine it in a way and create something. And that's so vague, but you know,
no, that happens.
Hopefully, I'll have more to say about it sometime soon.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, I like finding new things that like haven't been done before. And also, when you're an independent filmmaker, you have to work within your budget and kind of, you know, I think that helps a lot of times creativity. You know, if someone says you have $100 million, you can do whatever you want. It's like, I mean, that'd be great, obviously. But when it's like, all right, I got to write something within this location with these people or whatever, I think you get almost more creative doing that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. So is writing maybe your favorite role to take on within a movie project, or do you prefer maybe directing or something else? Like what do you enjoy the most?
I do like writing. I've probably done it the most the last few years because it's like the one thing in film that is just you. When you're on a set, you have to have other people helping you out. But anyone can just sit down and write. So that's what I've done most of, but I don't know if it's my favorite. thing to do. I like editing as well. I've been doing a lot more of that lately. Finally upgraded to Premiere Pro Creative Cloud. So, I had CS4 for years. For almost 10 years now.
I'm on CS5.
8 years. You're on CS5?
Yeah. Or 5.5, whatever.
Yeah, whatever it was. So that's been good. Kind of, and I am editing a project right now, and it's kind of fun because I wasn't on set for it. I didn't write it.
Mm-hmm.
I had nothing to do with it, and just kind of like seeing the footage, and it's actually turning out really well. Seeing someone else's vision kind of come to life and what they were going for is kind of fun as well. So I like writing and editing. I think being on set, I don't want to say it's my least favorite thing, I guess, but I don't know. It's the most stressful. But when we did Solitude, like Livingston and I, we co-directed that film. We wrote it together as well. Like each night before the shoot, we would go over the shot list for the next day. And for the most part, we were, I think when you're on set, it should just be kind of almost mindless. You know what you are going to do, and you just do it. Like you don't decide what you're going to do the day of. Mm-hmm. What we did, that happens though. but you don't. You want to at least prepare an outline for what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
But I think I probably do like writing and editing more than anything else. Because even with editing, it is just you also. At least for a while, you can just sit down and do it and not have any distractions. But I don't know. I for the one we're doing in December, or the one we did in December, depending on, I'm gonna be. I'll be on set for that, and I'll probably help out with editing as well. Mm-hmm. Just to kind of get our feet wet, because it's been a while since we did a project, so it'll be good.
Nice. Okay, so switching gears a little bit. So the Me Too movement, about the Me Too movement,
yes.
And the Time's Up movement, and everything. Okay, so with that happening over the last few years, have you noticed any changes in the industry here in Minnesota specifically? And how has your approach maybe changed when it comes to making films because of that?
Well, I actually just moved back to Minnesota in February because I was in Florida and LA for 2 years. I don't know. I guess I haven't really seen as much in terms of how that's affected because I've been gone for a while. Mm-hmm. I've seen how it affected Hollywood.
Okay.
And I think it's just the beginning. I mean, Hollywood. Mm-hmm. You watch a show like that, not just glamorizes Hollywood, but just like satirizes. How do you know how to say the word? Is a satire of Hollywood. A lot of times they're not unrealistic. Like Entourage is not a fake show because I met all those people, all those kind of not on that show, but people just like those characters. Those are not fake characters. It's not an exaggeration. Mm-hmm. And they have a character in that show called Harvey Weingard. Who do you think they're parodying when they do a show, character like that? So I think it's honestly in Hollywood, especially, it's just the beginning. Yeah. Without getting overly political, I mean the hypocrisy of Hollywood is completely absurd, and I think it's probably needs to be turned on its head. And I think it's kind of getting to that point. So I think that's a good thing, and I think it's also a good thing for young filmmakers because you'll get rid of a lot of these people that are, they've been doing whatever they want for so long. That they don't know any different, so they never have any consequences for their actions, and now they are. So it's a surprise to them. Yeah. But I'm not sure how it affected here as much. A couple years ago, I wrote a script that was kind of like a Thelma and Louise in the West, Wild West type of thing. But even when I wrote something like that, it's like. Because I wanted to write a script that was focusing on two women and, kind of out of their comfort zone, out of, on the run type of thing, if you've seen Thelma and Louise.
Yes.
Okay. But I wrote the script and I thought, I think it's good, but, it's from my perspective. So I had a couple of my female friends, read over, is this, is it, I'm not, you're not from the Old West or whatever, but, would this be relatable? Is my message kind of getting across with it and that kind of thing? Right. Never actually filmed that thing. Maybe we'll someday. But that was one project that was influenced maybe by that in a way. And Thelma and Louise is a great movie too. So
absolutely,
definitely recommend that one.
Yeah.
It was a movie that was probably ahead of its time in a way.
So you've noticed changes in Hollywood. So what type of changes?
I mean, it wasn't like as much direct contact with people, but I don't know. That's a good question, I guess. It's just kind of people are changing, I guess, in general. How they approach a lot of things, what kind of movies they want to make. I think there are a lot of movies that, like when I wrote the Western thing, like I wanted it to be about two female characters, and I wanted it to be like Thelma and Louise, but I didn't want it to be so overly preachy that you roll your eyes at it. I think there's good and bad with well, I'm gonna sound controversial. There's a lot of movies that come out there and they have a good message, but they're so overly preachy about it, it kind of distracts from the story. Where they, it's like at the end of the movie they stop and look at the camera and you can do this, that type of thing. And I think that kind of ruins a lot of things. You got to convey the message without being preachy, I guess. I think that's a totally off topic thing of what your question was, but how it's changed Hollywood. I don't know. I know. I don't know. I guess. I think it's still changing Hollywood. I think it's just very early on in what's going to happen.
It's more relevant, probably, and more aware.
I think you'll see. I mean, you have seen a lot more movies with, female leads or whatever, more minorities or something like that, and I think that's been a good thing as well lately. And I think you've also seen people get upset by it lately, which is ridiculous. I think. I think a lot of people. Man, I don't want to get too overly political, I guess, about it. But like people that get upset about, I don't know. I don't know people, but I knew people that got upset at like Black Panther or something like that. You know what I mean? I lived in Florida, so but like stuff like that where it's like there's been enough, white male superheroes.
Right.
And I love those movies, but still, it's like this movie was not made for you. Yeah. This movie was made for a different demographic, and obviously it was very successful. So that's
and such a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So well done. So what's next for you, Taylor?
Well, the next thing I'm working on, besides the film that we just wrapped in December, is a film that, or kind of a web series thing that we're doing. Mm-hmm. It's going to involve a lot of music. And probably some theater concert type of things, and also it'll be a web series, and also it'll be a lot of social media, and it's going to be kind of an experiment type of thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I'm going to do it exactly yet. It's going to be kind of mockumentary style, some of it, but I got to write a lot for this kind of thing to make it kind of work, and it's also going to be like very specifically timed out throughout the year next year. It sounds ridiculous. I mean, it sounds so vague the way I'm saying it. But I wanted to make something that was more of a living piece of art, or a living thing that kind of changes throughout each week, kind of, and to see where these characters go. So it'll involve a lot of film, but it'll also involve a lot of like live kind of theater type of thing as well. So
kind of experimental or organic?
It kind of is, yeah. And it's going to be a parody of, not parody, that's not the right word. It's going to be kind of poking fun at, satirizing like a lot of like the rock star lifestyle. I guess we'll go with that. Not quite like Spinal Tap-ish, but, maybe a little bit in that kind of thing. If you've seen This Is Spinal Tap. But I mean, we'll see where it goes. It's still very early on, so I don't know if it'll be like right away next year. But I'm going to be involved with that in a lot of ways. And I'm going to be the lead, I guess, as well. So that'll be interesting.
Well, I'm going to flip the last two questions here. What do you want people to remember most about you?
One thing that I always loved about film, and I told myself to this when we were making Solitude, is like we can make this movie, and it will outlive us. Mm-hmm. I think that's the best thing about art, is that it outlives, everything. And I mean, not that I'm like thinking my movie's going to be around in 1,000 years, but it has more potential to be than like, some store or some government or anything like that. You know, that stuff's gonna go away, but art will outlive, you know, societies and everything like that, I think. So I think that's one thing that kind of really piqued my interest about it. So I don't think I've made it something yet that is, you know, good enough to outlive whatever, but that's kind of what my approach is when I make when I write some of the stuff. Like, I want this stuff to last forever. I want to make something that's a classic that people look back at, you know, in 100 years or, you know, at least even 50 years, you know, that type of thing. So that's kind of my approach when I make things, is that I want something to outlive us.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, where can people find you or find your work, contact you if they want to work with you? Anything?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. If you search Taylor Scott Olson, I have that picture of the Vikings jersey most times. I am on, let me see, I'm on Twitter sometimes. And I got to remember it's just Taylor S. Olson on Twitter. And then Instagram, I am, let me see now, Taylor Scott Olson on Instagram. So, yep, you can find me there. Or if you're, you know, want to watch our movie and have Amazon Prime, you can search American Beast and watch it there, and hopefully give us a good review, because we're at like 4.1 out of 10. So, you know.
Oh. Everybody watch it.
Yeah, right. Give us a good
Everybody,
review.
yeah.
But no, I appreciate that. I'd get my 6 cents if you watched all 90 minutes. So, you know.
Yeah.
Or someone would get
a
their
lot of
6
familiar
cents.
faces from around town too.
There are, yeah. We had like a cast of almost like 30 people, I think. So you'd
Nice.
probably recognize at least 1 or 2 of them
Yeah.
in our film. So.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us today.
Yeah, thanks for
Taylor.
having me. It's
Yeah.
been a good time.
It was awesome. It's nice meeting you. And thank you, everybody, for listening in. Until next time.
This is Film in Minnesota.